Well, let me show you one of the biggest lies in Christianity that I guarantee you have believed because you've read these newer versions that have taken out very important doctrine that used to be a part of the church. Here's something that I guarantee you is going to rock your world when I read it to you.
All right, let's see it.
Let's start in Matthew 5:22 with the newer translations, and I'll read it to you as you already know it. It says, and this is Jesus talking, "But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment." So when you read that and you read the words of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, you read, wow, I better be careful and not get angry with my brother or I'm going to be liable to God's judgment. And that's what's taught in Christianity today. But let me read it to you in the King James Version Bible. "But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in the danger of judgment." You see how it says without a cause? Those three words change entire Christian doctrines. Without a cause. So there's a time to be angry with your brother, and it's with good reason, not without a cause, right? And let's read in the newer version. There's a little number 3 next to it. It says down in the very bottom, it says, "Some manuscripts insert without a cause." So they admit plainly that they've taken that part of it out, and they've sold us a doctrine that you should never be angry with anyone ever. And they've tried to sell passive Christianity by taking things out of the Bible that were strong Christian doctrines before and are no longer in the Bible. So now it just says, don't get angry at all. Just live and let live, brother. Don't ever be angry. And I guarantee you believe that because you've read it in these newer translations. But right here it says, without a cause.
So modern Bible translations usually omit this phrase, which is just one word in Greek, iki, because we know that it is not a part of the original composition of Matthew chapter 5. It is something that scribes added in later. And we can show this with our earliest and our best manuscripts. For instance, here is P64. This dates to around the year 300 CE. And you can just barely see the very tops of the letters of the bottom line, but we can see enough of them to know what those letters were. And those are the words that would come before and after the word iki, but the word iki, we can tell, is not in this manuscript. And here is a transcription and reconstruction of what is in the manuscript. Here is Codex Vaticanus, and there is absolutely no trace of the word iki. Here is Codex Sinaiticus, and the word is there, but it was written in the margins by a later scribal hand. This is where someone has added it afterwards into the text, likely because they don't like the reading as it stood in the original composition of Matthew 5. Now, when critical scholars have manuscripts that disagree, we have a number of text critical principles that help guide us in weighing probabilities in order to try to determine what was most likely the earlier reading. And these are trends. They're not the way things always go, but they're the way things tend to go. In textual transmission, alteration tends to lengthen the text. It does not usually cause the text to get shorter. This is a principle called lectio brevior. The shorter text is usually the earlier reading. The text without iki is likely to be the earlier reading in light of that principle. You have another principle called lectio difficilior, which is that the more complicated, the more uncomfortable, the more unusual reading is usually earlier, because the tendency is for scribes to clean up, to fix, and to make more comfortable the text if it is being altered. And so according to that principle, the reading without iki is less comfortable, is more unusual, is likely earlier. There's not really an argument to make that iki was dropped out accidentally, because there's no plausible case to make for haplography because of homoioarcton or homoioteleuton anywhere around this word. So the overwhelming majority of scholars agree this word, as we see in Codex Sinaiticus, was added into the manuscripts by a later scribe. It was not what the author of Matthew 5 originally wrote. And so now you have an opportunity to negotiate with the text. You are aware that there are different readings here, and so you have to come up with a reason for why you are going to accept one over the other. You are going to negotiate text critically with the text. Now, what is going to guide your negotiation? Is it concern for what the data indicate? Is it concern for what the original author of the Gospel of Matthew, whether or not you believe them to be inspired, actually wrote? Or is your negotiation going to be guided by what makes the text more meaningful and useful to you? it's obvious that this creator, in their negotiation with the text, is going to prioritize what makes the text more useful and more meaningful to them, which means they are negotiating what the original author wrote right out of the text because they like it better a different way. And that is just one of the ways that modern readers of the Bible negotiate with the text to make it say what they want it to say.